Jordan was in his 20s, living alone in a tidy little apartment that felt more like a waiting room than a home. He had a college degree, a steady job, a gym membership, and a Spotify subscription, but none of it seemed to matter. Every day felt like a copy-paste version of the last. Wake up, coffee, emails, meetings, more emails, dinner, sleep, and in between a vast emptiness that no productivity hack could fill. It wasn't that Jordan was in pain. He just wasn't anything. He wasn't excited. He wasn't inspired. He wasn't angry or joyful. He was just drifting. On weekends, the feeling got worse. With no deadlines to anchor him, the days stretched like chewing gum, flavorless and too long. He would scroll on his phone for hours, then put it down with a sigh only to pick it back up again moments later. He wanted to do something, but everything felt pointless. Every option felt like noise. One Saturday, his great-uncle Ray came by unexpectedly. Ray was one of those older folks who didn't hand out advice. He told stories. Odd ones that didn't always make sense at first, but had a way of circling back just when you needed them most. They sat in silence for a while, sipping tea. Then Ray asked, "You ever seen a clock without hands?" Jordan blinked. "You mean like a broken clock?" Ray chuckled. "No, I mean a real one, made that way on purpose. No numbers, no hands, just a clean circle on the wall. Looks nice, sure, but doesn't tell time." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "So, it's just decoration?" "Maybe," Ray said, tapping his mug. "Or maybe it's a reminder." Jordan leaned back, waiting for the inevitable twist. Ray continued, "Some people hang those clocks because they're tired of chasing time. They've stopped trying to measure every second. They just want to feel their days, not count them." He looked over at Jordan, his voice dropping. "You've been living like a broken clock. No direction, no rhythm, waiting for something to fix you. But time doesn't fix you, and people don't either. You fix yourself, or you don't get fixed." Jordan didn't respond, but his throat tightened. Ray leaned in slightly. "You're sad. Not in a headline way, not in a tragedy way, just lost. Directionless sadness, the worst kind. It's the kind that turns time into a curse. You don't know what to do with an hour, so it becomes a weight. You can't enjoy it, can't spend it, can't ignore it. And so it crushes you." Jordan nodded, just barely, like even agreeing felt like effort. "I've been there," Ray said, his voice low and steady. "And let me tell you what I learned, because no one told me when I was in it. No one sat me down and said, 'Hey, this is what that fog in your chest is. This is what it means when the hours feel heavy and the air tastes like disappointment.' You see, when you're at your lowest, your motivation doesn't just dip, it vanishes. Dreams feel like a prank someone played on a younger version of you. Hope, it packs a bag and goes somewhere sunny without leaving a note." He paused, letting the silence make space. "And when all of that's gone, you're left with one thing." Jordan waited. "Habit," Ray said simply. Jordan frowned. "Habit?" Ray nodded. "Yeah, not your 5-year plan. Not your vision board with cut-out quotes and beaches. Not the motivational videos you saved but never watched. I mean habit, the boring, automatic stuff you've repeated enough times that your brain doesn't need to ask permission anymore. It just does it." He tapped the side of his head, slowly. When your mind's running on fumes, it doesn't look for greatness. It looks for familiarity. Whatever's been loaded into your subconscious. And if what's loaded is self-destruction, well, that's where it'll go. Not because you want to spiral, but because that's the only pattern your brain can still follow. Ray leaned back, his eyes thoughtful. People don't get this. They think breakdowns are dramatic, loud, but more often than not, they're quiet routines, habits that were never challenged. You don't crash all at once. You drift, one choice at a time. Jordan looked down at his hands. "So what do I do with that?" "You rebuild the foundation," Ray said. "You create better defaults. Because in crisis, you don't rise to your ambitions, you fall to your systems." He smiled sadly. "When I was around your age, I hit a wall too. My job didn't inspire me. My relationships felt hollow. Every day looked like the last. I started smoking, not for the taste, but because I needed something, anything, to break the silence. I didn't know how to sit with myself. I didn't have any good habits ready to catch me, just the ones that numbed me." He took a sip of tea before continuing. "Then one day I came across a line in an old book. It said, 'When you don't know what to do something kind, even if it feels mechanical.' That line stuck. It was the first thing that didn't feel fake." Jordan tilted his head. What did you do? I picked up a book, Ray said. Didn't care what it was. Just opened it and started reading. Didn't even absorb most of it, not at first, but it gave my hands something to do that didn't make things worse. Then I added walking. I told myself, 1 loop around the block, not for exercise, not for clarity, just for rhythm, just to move. He looked at Jordan with warmth. And over time, it stuck, not because I was inspired, because I was desperate for something to hold on to that wasn't tearing me down. Those tiny habits became my lifeline. When the sadness was too heavy to lift, the habit moved my legs for me. Jordan let out a long breath. So you're saying, just do something, even when it doesn't feel like it matters? I'm saying, Ray replied gently, when you're at your worst, you need a friend who doesn't bail. And the only friend guaranteed to show up, rain or shine, heartbreak or panic, is your habit. So for God's sake, make sure it's a good one. He leaned forward. Your brain won't ask, is this helpful? It'll ask, have we done this before? That's the scary part. But it's also your way out. That night, Jordan didn't open Netflix. His fingers hovered over the remote, then pulled back like from a hot stove. Instead, he reached for a dusty paperback. One Ray had given him years ago, but he'd never touched. He cracked the spine open and read 3 pages. Couldn't recall a single line, but then he read 3 more. It wasn't thrilling, but it wasn't destructive. The next morning, something small changed. Instead of pulling the covers over his head, Jordan got up, laced up his sneakers, and stepped outside. 1 loop around the block, then another. No headphones, no mission. Just footsteps on pavement and breath in cold air. He didn't feel better, but he felt slightly more real, less numb. The days that followed didn't look dramatic, but they looked different. He kept walking, he kept reading, and sometimes when his hands were too jittery to hold a book, he wrote a little. Just scribbles, fragments. But it was motion. Over the next few weeks, he didn't transform into a new person, but the heaviness that once filled every moment began to thin. The fog didn't vanish, it lifted an inch, enough to breathe, enough to keep going. Not because of some lightning strike revelation, but because he chose over and over again to take 1 step. When Ray came by a month later, Jordan was still quiet, still reserved, but something in his posture had changed. He didn't shrink into the couch. He didn't dodge eye contact. His presence had weight again. You picked a habit, Ray said, sipping his tea by the window. That means you picked a friend. Jordan smiled, barely but with sincerity. Yeah, I don't know if I love him yet, but I think we'll get along. In today's world, sadness rarely crashes in like thunder. It seeps in quietly, through boredom, through isolation, through the soft erosion of meaning. And when you're in that space, people often say, just do something. But what they don't say is this. At your lowest, you won't want to do anything. You won't have clarity, fire, or drive. You'll have habits. And your habits, those daily, ordinary rituals, will become your lifeboat. If they're destructive, they'll drown you faster. If they're healthy, they'll carry you through. So don't wait until the storm hits to build them. Build them now. On your good days, on your average days. Chase after the habits that feel boring, but build you quietly. Because when you're out of hope, out of energy, and out of reasons, that's all that will be left. And if all you do today is pick up a book, take a walk, or drink water instead of wine, that's enough. That's 1 step. 1 step is always enough to break the loop, even for a clock without hands. I hope you found this story helpful. If you enjoyed today's story, be sure to hit the like button. It might seem like a small thing, but because of how the YouTube algorithm works, videos with more likes tend to get shown to more people. So your like really helps this video reach others who might need it too. And if you find my content valuable, consider subscribing. It really helps more people discover it. Thanks for watching, and I wish you and your family good health and peace. See you in the next story.